Hello, this is Liam, and you're watching a new original story on my channel, Life Stories.
How sweetly one sleeps at dawn. The whole house is still asleep, dreaming their 10th dream, the long-awaited weekend, and there's a chance to lounge in bed longer afterward. Only this mosquito is buzzing over the ear. Tatiana tried to shoo away the annoying pest, but it wouldn't stop. Oh wait, it's not a mosquito. It's the phone buzzing near her ear. Yes? Hello? With her eyes closed, Tatiana answered the early call from an unknown number, trying not to wake her husband. Tanachkal, is that you? Good morning to you. Tanya, this is Aunt Nina, your neighbor from Rakitnoy. There's something going on here. Your parents are in trouble. In short, Tatiana instantly snapped out of sleep and in fright even dropped the phone. It hit the floor and flew under the bed. The woman dove in and hurriedly fishing out the receiver, cried out right from there, lying on her stomach. Has something happened? What's wrong with my parents? Did something happen to Dad? Why are you shouting like that? Don't scare yourself, everyone's alive. Tatiana crawled out from under the bed like a little crab, backing up and clutching her chest, then sat right on the floor, stretching out her legs. How can you scare someone like that, Nina Ivanovna? You could give someone a heart attack that way. If everything's fine with them, why scare me? You're the one yelling. Well, I'm not yelling, let's say, but informing. How to put it, fine or not so much. They're getting divorced. They've smashed the pots. For 3 days now, they've been dividing property, arguing non-stop. Your father was running around the yard with an axe yesterday, chopping everything in half and destroying old furniture all afternoon. You should come, Tan. Come on over. We need to save your old folks before they both go crazy, or else they'll fight and hurt themselves. Thanks, Aunt Nin. I'll come. In the morning, not in the dark. Tanya muttered a promise into the phone, then dropped her hands and pondered. What a morning this is starting out to be. No one expected this. That's it. Sleep flew away as if wiped clean. She sighed, looked at her sleeping husband, adjusted his blanket, wrapping him more cozily and tucking it under his side. It would be nice to dive back in where it's still warm. I shouldn't disturb him. He worked again, fell asleep almost at dawn. Those papers of his, reports, let him rest at least in the morning. Soon he'll finish the project and he'll have a break. She quietly padded barefoot to the kitchen, holding her slippers in her hands, turned on the kettle out of habit, though she didn't want tea yet. She let Vadim sleep a bit more and meanwhile prepared fluffy pancakes for her husband and Katie, then finally nudged him. Vadik, Vad, I have to leave. I'll dash to my parents. There's a problem there. I'll be back in the evening or maybe even tomorrow afternoon. We'll see. Vadim mumbled something incoherently, but Tanya didn't give up. Vadik, something happened at my parents in the village. They quarreled apparently. The neighbor called all in a panic. I need to go there. I made breakfast for you and Katie. It's damp outside today, so maybe don't go out. Katie was coughing a bit, and for lunch eat, there's borscht and porridge with cutlets, and make sure she doesn't play on the computer for hours. Did you get all that? Her husband opened sleepy eyes, nodded, and dove back into the pillow, yawning heartily. Well, Vadik, did you really hear everything? Tanya nudged her husband on the shoulder a little. Yes, I hear you, Tan. I'm not asleep anymore, almost. I'll get up now. She shook her head. No, he won't get up. But one can hope he heard everything, or else with sleep deprivation, you can mix up anything. Tatiana covered the bowl of pancakes with a towel, quickly checked if there was enough food for lunch and dinner. And just in case for tomorrow too, who knows what the parents have started. Maybe she'll have to stay there for 2 days? Reconciling them won't take longer anyway. She has to be at work Monday morning and the daughter at kindergarten. Then she quickly changed and left. Saturday was just picking up speed. Snow was falling, covering the awakening city with large flakes. The black, wet road, filled with cars hurrying from early morning, gave way to the highway and rushed along fields, islands, villages, groves. Tanya caught herself several times drifting from the road and nodding off. The constant lack of sleep from the last months was taking its toll. She turned the music up louder to drive more cheerfully. The rhythm invigorates. Soon the highway turned into a dirt road. Familiar places all around. The blue gate at her parents' house was wide open, and the gates too. Next to the gates stood a cart piled with some things. Tatiana entered the yard and gasped. It looked like a battlefield here. Old things were scattered everywhere. Clothes, old dishes, some tools. Even a two-handed saw grinned its teeth in the middle of the yard. Her father was noisily dragging another pile of junk from the shed and dumping it in a heap. He greeted her. "Good morning, daughter, if it's good at all," which I personally doubt. "Hi, Dad. What's going on here?" Tanya called and stopped at the porch. Further on, everything was cluttered with junk. "What's going on?" "We're tidying up." "And why did you come?" "Did Mom call you?" "No, Dad. Aunt Nina." Nina the chatterbox magpie. Her father turned to the neighbor's house and, seeing Aunt Nina peeking out the window, shook his fist at her. The woman immediately drew the curtain and hid in the house. Mom jumped out onto the porch and, throwing on a shawl, smiled at Tanya artificially. "Oh, daughter, you're here at an odd time. Early morning and you're already at our place. Did you all come? Or just you?" Mom squinted, nearsightedly peering at the car beyond the gate. "No, it seems empty." "Aha!" Your Nina blabbed to her. "What's the emergency here?" "Chaos, in general." Her father continued throwing old things from the shed to the fence. But he wasn't stacking them to organize. He was creating even more mess. "I came alone. Parents, what have you come up with? What happened? Are you really getting divorced?" "Yes, Tanichka, we're separating and divorcing." "Come into the house. It's cold standing in the yard." "It's not warmer there," snapped her father. "Your mother won't let me heat with firewood. She says I bought them with my own pension, and she hired Basil Fisher to saw and split them when my sciatica knocked me down. So now I'll saw some boards and heat up, and we'll warm ourselves. At least sip some hot tea." But the adventures didn't end in the house. The kitchen was conditionally divided into two parts. Tanya was bewildered. Wow, so many things. It seemed many of the lying items were even unfamiliar to her. "Mom, what are you doing?" Tatiana entered the house, looked around in amazement, and was even more surprised. "Well, we're dividing property," her mother replied embarrassedly, and adjusted her scarf so as not to miscalculate. "But you've been together almost 40 years. What are you dividing?" "This very wealth, accumulated over the years, we're dividing equally with your father." Tatiana laughed nervously, even threw up her hands. "Dividing plates and hammers with planes. This is mine and this is yours. Mom, Dad, have you completely lost your minds? Why can't you live peacefully?" "We live peacefully, daughter. We live peacefully. And soon it'll be even more peaceful. Now we'll live even better once we divide everything." Her father brought in chopped boards and noisily threw them by the stove. "Wait, are you planning to divide the house too, or what?" "We're still thinking. Either put up a wall and make a second entrance to split it, so for two owners, or better sell it and move apart completely. I'll go to Tazovo, just to get farther from her," and he pointed a finger at her mother. Her mother just snorted like a cat. Tatiana clutched her heart. Their family conversation wasn't working. She wanted to say something important, but the right words weren't there. Horror. What horror? I drove here at the crack of dawn. I thought, well, they quarreled, so what? I'll reconcile you and go. So many plans piled up at home for the weekend, and here it's total chaos. We've lived together, time to live separately, as each likes. Wake up when you want, cook when you feel like, by mood, and go to bed when you want, even at dusk or even until morning, her father picked up. And so everything. I don't want to listen to you anymore. I see you're offended at each other and circling like those goats from the fairy tale on one bridge, butting each other like adults but behaving like little children. Tatiana turned and went out to the veranda. In the corner hung Katie's child's fur coat on a hanger, which her mother now covered vegetable preserves with. She grabbed the fur coat and with the words, "And this is mine, since you're dividing everything," jumped out onto the porch, slamming the door. "Tanya, so why did you come?" her mother called after. But Tatiana jumped behind the wheel and just waved her hand. The conversation didn't work out. Alas, she's not strong in psychological negotiations. She couldn't reconcile her parents. And what will happen next? Try to predict. Most likely, as they decided, they'll divorce. Snow fell again, fluffy, weightless. Tatiana turned the car away from the yard and sharply pressed the gas. She grumbled and talked to herself, just like little children, really. But what happened to them in old age that both went crazy? Instead of rewatching old movies together or even cartoons together, drinking herbal tea with biscuits, no, they invented entertainment for retirement, dividing property. Tanya was angry, but more at herself than her parents. Her hands shook on the wheel and she had to grip them tightly so her fingers wouldn't tremble. No matter how much she thought about the situation, she couldn't fix it. The parents themselves decided to divorce. Tatiana remembered how once, at about 6 years old, her parents quarreled badly in front of her. What came over them that they wouldn't stop? Arguing and arguing. Tanya then hid under the bed. It seemed to her that if she sat it out there, everything in the family would become peaceful as before. But nothing worked. The quarrel only gained momentum. Then she ran away to the river, where on the village bank there was a secret hut in the acacia crown where boys hid, and she climbed in there and fell asleep, after crying until her head hurt. Tanya didn't know that her parents, tired of arguing, realized their child was missing. They first asked neighbors where their daughter was, then ran through the village, visited the post office, the store, and the pharmacy. She sometimes bought hematogen there, her favorite treat. The search was unsuccessful. The child disappeared. Then, when her mother was sobbing and all the alarmed neighbors joined the search, the girl suddenly turned up. Alive and well, only still tear-stained, she climbed down from the tree herself. Good that it had just started to get dark and she didn't get lost alone. But how much shouting there was! Joy! But the main thing, her parents didn't quarrel anymore. Her father hugged both daughter and wife, and even all the neighbors in turn. And it seemed there was no more wonderful moment in the world, and Tanya learned. The moment of reconciliation of loved ones is the sweetest moment in the world. It's a pity that it worked then in childhood, but wouldn't work today, and she's no longer a child, and her parents aren't young. Snow fell and covered the road, smoothing fields, ravines, and groves with a white, smooth blanket. Tanya drove the car inside. A heavy day from the very morning didn't go well. Suddenly, the phone rang. She was about to dig it out of her pocket and answer the call, but suddenly a blow, and then another. For some reason, inappropriately, she thought she hadn't set her husband's ringtone separately to distinguish who was calling, him or not. And then darkness came. What smooth and white light, blindingly white, like in January, Tanya thought, trying to open her eyes. Something annoyingly beeped over her left ear. Again, that annoying mosquito. She wanted to shoo it away, stop that beep. Though it's winter. What mosquito? Where does a mosquito come from in winter? One of two things. Either it's not winter now or it's not a mosquito. Then what is beeping? Tatiana felt like a swaddled mummy tied to the bed so she wouldn't move. Wake up, Tatiana, it's time. Who was calling her by name? She closed her eyes. From the bright light, they hurt. She couldn't rub her eyes with her hands. What happened to them? Why don't they work? Does she have hands at all? Probably she can just sleep a bit more. I'll sleep a little more and this mosquito will fly away and I'll finish the dream. Something important was dreaming, muttered Tatiana, and was surprised. Her tongue didn't want to obey either, and her hands and her eyes wouldn't focus. Everything floated in white spots. White spots? That's cherry blossoms. It seemed to her she was sleeping in her parents' house, and it's not spring now, but summer. Mom is baking pies with cherries, and Dad is mowing grass, and the mower is humming. No, that's not a mower, that's her husband and Katie making noise, frolicking in the yard. Summer. Grasshoppers chirping under the window. It smells of mown grass, fresh milk, and strawberry jam that Mom is cooking in a basin, skimming aromatic foam. If only a fresh crust to dip in the syrup and lick fingers like in childhood, there is nothing tastier in the world. Tatiana realized she was very hungry. Need to get up, go to the kitchen and snack on something. She opened her eyes with difficulty. By the bed stood a nurse in a white coat adjusting the IV, taping it. Awake! Excellent, it's time. Time already? I thought I was dreaming. Where am I? Asked Tatiana quietly. In a hospital ward. Already the 4th month, but don't worry, it's all behind now. Tatiana closed her eyes again. It seemed to her that if she squeezed them shut, everything would turn out to be a dream, and in fact, she's home. Where else would she be? Everything's fine. 2 major surgeries behind. You did great. Now you'll recover. Quickly, as they say, it'll heal before the wedding. Whose? Tanya was confused. Well, at least the nearest one. Your parents, it seems, decided to get married in church. And getting married in church is good. I need to call. I have a daughter. Your husband called. Everything's fine with your daughter. They'll call you back in the evening. Gain strength to talk. The nurse smiled kindly. In a couple hours, the little nurse brought Tatiana a small bottle of water with a thin straw for easy drinking and got her phone, helping to turn on the call. "Hi, Vadik," said Tatiana quietly when her husband picked up. He paused a bit, trying to hold back welling tears, then answered, trying to sound cheerful. "Hi, dear. How are you? We miss you so much. Katie sends hi. She drew you an optimistic picture." Further, Tanya mostly listened. Bottom spoke. She only inserted occasional, mm-hmm. Her husband couldn't stop the flow of news and forgot he was crying and not wiping his eyes. He talked and talked, but Tanya listened. She was glad to hear these insignificant news which warmed her as of. Katie also periodically inserted important additions.
Family. Then Tatiana learned what happened on the way back from the village when she was returning from her parents. She got distracted by the phone call and lost control, flying off the road. Lucky, one could say. It could have been worse. She lay more than 3 months in intensive care, then underwent a long treatment process, which turned into rehabilitation, and then she was discharged, and she finally went home. Then Tatiana learned that her parents spent several long weeks in the hospital corridor, afraid to leave the door behind which the machines beeped. For some reason, they were sure that if they left, something bad, irreparable would happen. They sat side by side, holding hands like Siamese twins, and even wiped each other's tears. Then her husband and parents were allowed into the ward. She lay under the equipment, but Vadim didn't give up. He talked to her, retold his wife the latest city news and how his project was progressing, held her hand, brought Katie to visit Mom. The daughter learned poems, which she then quietly recited for Mom in her ear. And Mommy hears everything, right? She's just like a sleeping princess, and then she'll wake up and remember how I read her poems and immediately get up and come back to us. Vadim stroked his daughter on the smooth cheek and nodded. She'll definitely remember Katie. When she's recovering, you'll recite new poems together. It'll be good for her to read with you. You're smart, good idea. And Vadim blashed away a tear so Katie wouldn't notice. Let her think Mom is recovering in her sleep. Thinking that Tanya might not come out of the coma was unbearable. Only not her. They had plans. They hadn't even flown to Dubai yet. They even planned to have a little sister for Katie, or a brother. Kept postponing. And now? Sometimes Grandma brought Katie to Mom when Vadim was late at work, but more often Tanya's mom visited. She also whispered all the insignificant trifles, and in those hours she talked for several months ahead, as if afraid not to make it. Then someone suggested to Tanya's mom to visit the chapel, pray there. God always helps, especially when there's no other hope. Tanya's stay in intensive care had already lasted 2 months then, and there were no positive changes in her condition. The chapel of the intercession of the Most Holy Theotokos was in the hospital campus yard among old park trees hundreds of meters from the main building. Then she found out services were held in the cardiology department. At first, Mom went to pray alone. Then, embarrassed, Dad asked to go with her, and then they went together. They were often seen together, side by side, praying and quietly wiping tears. Need it be said that the parents forgot about their quarrels? What junk in the shed? What dish division? Common trouble united them, before which any other retreated. And even Katie, as she could, turned to prayer, adopting Grandma's method. Dear God, heal my mommy. I promise I'll always fold my clothes neatly and won't scatter my toys and will eat all my porridge. Just let mommy get well. And then Tanya woke up. Her mother immediately declared confidently, "It's the Lord who helped. Now our daughter will recover. I believe it with all my heart." And they started praying even more diligently. Vadim also prayed to himself.
And then came the day when Tanya crossed the hospital threshold to never return there. Vadim drove his own car. Tanya's swallow, as she affectionately called it, had given up the ghost after several flips off the road. By unspoken agreement of the spouses, they avoided this topic. Vadim decided not to repair that car,
but sell it for parts and forget about it. Relatives were waiting at home for the recovering one's arrival. The familiar smell of her home and children's shoes at the entrance made Tatiana smile joyfully. What happiness to be alive, to return home. Katie ran first to meet her mother, hung on her, squealed, and almost strangled her in hugs. Tatiana let go of the little one and took a few steps forward. Her parents stood in the hallway and looked at her, joyful, happy, and crying. They had shed so many tears these months. Her father held her mother by the waist, carefully, tenderly supporting. "Hello, our joy, dear daughter. Congratulations on recovery." Phone communication couldn't replace native warmth. They called more and more often when speech returned to Tanya, but when they hugged, they felt unable to unclasp the embraces. And again, tears. "Mom, Dad, I see you've completely reconciled. I'm so glad." They nodded amicably like lovebirds. "Daughter, let's not recall our foolishness. We really don't quarrel anymore. Some haze came over us, but we've corrected ourselves," said her father. "Yes, we've reconciled, Tanyachka. We've decided to get married in church," said her mother and blushed. Tatiana threw up her hands. She already knew about this news, but pretended she learned it for the first time. Vadim smiled slyly. He knew their secret news too. A month ago, the little nurse spilled it. "Well, you guys, what news? How secretive you are," laughed Tanya. "And when were you going to tell us?" "Well, Vadik already knows. And we're telling you. So practically first we're telling, we'll get married in church." Tanya turned to her husband. "So it turns out you knew." "Whether I heard or knew, is that the point? Let them get married in health as long as they don't quarrel anymore. Ever. They have a second youth. They're just starting to live, our parents. God give them health." Here Mom changed the topic. "Well, everything's ready at our place. To the table, please," she invited with a wide gesture to the living room. "Enough. Let's honor our birthday girl." "Well, a feast," smiled Tatiana. "How I miss this. How everything smells, just salivating." A year later, several happy events happened. The parents' church wedding, renovation in the parental home. They decided not to divide all the junk, but simply take it out, hired a truck and hauled it away. The house breathed, became light and spacious, and even seemed to grow. The parents had a honeymoon. Tatiana doesn't drive anymore, hasn't matured to sit behind the wheel again, and doesn't plan to drive because she's busy with something else. Their family is heading to the maternity hospital to pick up the beloved princess. The girl was named Mary. More precisely, Katie named her that. When Vadim asked why Mary, she shrugged. How else? She's like Mary and like Mom too. That's what we decided. And when they were driving in the car to the 7th maternity hospital for the baby, Mom hugged her dad and clung to him and whispered, "How good that we came to our senses in time and didn't do stupid things." "Stupid things? I don't remember," smiled her father and shook his head. "And really, why recall all sorts of stupid things? One should remember only the good."